Okay, it's fine. I'm right. Okay. No worries. Look cool, we're going live. Okay. Gotta go live on everything else too. Yeah. Let me finish this. This is so awkward. Like they're gonna get to see all the great the awkward like us getting ready to go live, even though I accidentally clicked live. Okay. And we're live on YouTube. Let's go live on Facebook. And live on Instagram. Okay, we're live on Instagram, live on Facebook, and let's check YouTube one more time to make sure. Yes, we are live on YouTube. Awesome. Okay, so welcome back to round two. Round two. Yeah. Hello. Hopefully, we'll see some of you who joined us this morning. We'll see you back here. We're now getting ready to discuss episode 9, we're now getting ready to record episode 9, infrared scans, and Isis and I are both super duper excited about this one. Yes, I'm so excited about this one. I think it's gonna be a big one. Yeah, for sure. Yes, definitely. All right, so should we get started? Yes. All right, let's get started. This is HomeGirls episode 9, infrared scan. Yeah, we're gonna start with the introduction. And we're going to start with our intro, which is pretty interesting. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, let's get it.
Rescue team, not assassins. Now, what are we going to do?
In a part of the world where there are no rules.
Chopper running down the road. What do you mean?
Deep in the jungle, where nothing that lives is safe. Who's here? You're older. Shelter. And a weak rescue squad.
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
Is being led by the ultimate warrior.
You're the best. That's why you're.
But now,
This is spook.
there's something up there waiting for us. And that ain't no man. They're up against the ultimate enemy.
Oh my God.
Nothing like it has ever been unearthed before.
She says the jungle just came alive or something.
We cannot see it.
Blood in their bodies. We have nothing.
But it sees the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear.
Whatever it is out there, it'll happen. Now it wants us.
It kills for pleasure.
He wants to take a life.
It hunts for sport.
It's killing us one at a time.
We're all gonna die. But this time, it takes a wrong man to hunt.
If he bleeds, we can kill it.
Century Fox presents Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator. The hunting begins Friday, June 12th at theaters everywhere.
So, for those of you who were born in the 90s or later, that was from the hit Hollywood film, The Predator, 1987. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura, is that his name? He ended up being governor of someone else. Yeah, I think so. He was a wrestler. Yeah. Anyway. I think it's Jesse Ventura or something. If it bleeds, you can kill it. I know. The part that kills me when he's like, you're bleeding. I don't have time to bleed. I don't have time to bleed. So we can all agree The Predator was a great movie. Yes. But the best part of The Predator was the fact that the actual Predator used infrared technology to hunt and kill all these poor hapless soldiers. He's a genius. I don't know. What they just said? What a part of the world where there are no rules. Yeah. Is that where this takes place? It takes place in a part of the world where there are no rules. Yeah, wherever that is. Yeah, wherever that is. The Predator is using infrared technology to come get us. Yes. And then go on for 17 more movies. Yeah. For those of you who were not around in 1987, we will be posting the trailer to that on the blog. So you can enjoy it. It's a great trailer. It's a great trailer. It is a great, and Arnold looks good in it.
He does look good. He looks really good. He's like in his prime right
Yes,
there.
there's actually a scene where him and Jesse Ventura like clasp arms and they both flex.
So everyone was
really,
like, yeah.
really massive. Yeah. So, and also when you watch the YouTube video on our blog, make sure you read the comments under
Yeah,
the
the
YouTube
comments
video.
are hilarious.
Comments make it. Yeah.
For sure.
So- Anyway, hi, I'm Mary,
And I'm Macy's.
and we're the HomeGirls. And today, if you haven't guessed, we're talking about infrared scans.
Yes.
Infrared scans, aka thermographic scans, aka infrared thermography, is all the same thing.
Nice.
Now, an infrared thermography is done using an infrared camera, which looks for temperature differentials. Let's start that again.
Okay.
All right. The infrared thermography is done using an infrared camera, which looks for temperature differentials in the home. This is the big thing, people. The infrared scan is not an X-ray machine, and it does not emit radiation.
Yeah, it is not an X. People think that.
People are terrified of it. People are like, you can see my underwear. No, we can't see your underwear. And it also doesn't emit any radiation. Because
Yeah.
occasionally we'll get pregnant women who are worried about the infrared gun. Nope, there's no radiation coming out of the infrared gun.
It's
Now, by the way, an infrared camera can also be called an infrared gun.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll refer to it as both. Basically, infrared cameras use emitted energy to look for temperature changes. And they also use it to like hunt soldiers running through the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Border Patrol use it too. Like
What?
Border Patrol use it too.
Yeah, Border Patrol. No, I was talking about Predator. I guess.
Oh, you're talking about
Making a joke about Predator.
Okay.
But yeah, Border Patrol does use it.
I'm over here like, oh.
But what is emitted energy? ECs will tell you in her section.
Yes.
Now, another disclaimer before we dive into the history portion. There's a lot of science happening in this episode.
Yes.
And if you listen to episode 8, where Isis and I got geology and geography confused,
Don't hate us, yeah.
you probably know we're not scientists by now.
Yeah.
Or the episode on WDI is when we couldn't pronounce any scientific word.
Yeah.
Yes, we're definitely not scientists, so forgive us if we get some of the physics wrong on infrared scan technology. But yeah, we're gonna try our best.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best.
Yes, good old college try.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive right into the history then. So, believe it or not, infrared technology goes back hundreds of years.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
That is crazy.
I know, like, I feel like this is something that would have just happened in the Cold War.
Yeah, like a more, definitely not hundreds of years
yeah.
ago.
In the late 18th century, a man named Sir William Herschel decided to find a way to reduce the brightness of the sun when it was being observed through a telescope. Now, Herschel, he was smart enough to know, thankfully, that you don't look at the sun directly through a telescope.
Okay, good. I was about to say.
Turns out Herschel was blind. No, he wasn't blind yet. Herschel was already famous, actually, by the time he came up with the infrared technology. He was the court astronomer to King George III. That King George, you know who King George I'm talking about?
The one from, like, the England? What? Oh, no, we're good.
The one from Hamilton.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The one from Hamilton.
One from
Yes.
Hamilton. King George of Hamilton fame. He was, so Sir William Herschel was the court astronomer to King George, but he was also, I gotta say this with a straight face, he discovered Uranus.
Wow. Nice. Of course he did.
Yeah, he did. High fives all around. Okay. So anyway, back to his experiment. Herschel started using colored glass and passing each pane of glass over a telescope. He found that some colors blocked the sun, while others made the sun so bright it risked damaging his eyes. So again, don't go blind, bro.
Yeah. Chill.
He established a Prism experiment based off of one Newton and an Italian researcher had done. And both Newton and this Italian researcher had been looking for the color spectrum, but Herschel took it a step further, and he was looking for color waves beyond the visible spectrum.
Yeah.
Let's do some trippy stuff here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. He created a special thermometer to take reading of the heat that was produced as he moved beyond the color spectrum. So basically, he's doing a really primitive form of infrared technology. He invented a tool that would allow him to read the heat because he noticed that as the colors moved into unseeable colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, as the colors moved into colors he could not see.
Yeah, basically it's not visible to the human eye. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So the more of the colors we couldn't see, the hotter they got.
Yeah.
Which is the basic of infrared technology. I don't know if this is making sense to you, but it makes sense to us.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. Cool. So he then created a special thermometer, which is a thermometer, excuse me, a basic infrared, primitive infrared gun to read the heat as he moved beyond the visible color spectrum. He noticed that as colors became redder and redder, the heat coming off the prism increased, and he called these new color/electromagnetic waves the thermometrical spectrum.
Okay.
Yes, very scientific. However, Herschel never used the term infrared. That term doesn't come into existence until later in the 19th century, and we don't actually know who coined the term infrared.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, probably they knew of Herschel's experiment and then just kind of built a word off of
Okay.
his findings, probably.
That makes sense.
So life goes on. We have the Civil War happens. We're not using infrared technology in the Civil War.
Yeah, no.
Spanish-American War. Spanish-American War was actually before the Civil War. Not using it then either.
Yeah.
We have the Philippine insurrection. That's not happening. Actually, I was wrong. Cut that part out.
Okay.
We'll start with the term did not come into existence until later in the 19th century. Who coined the term infrared is unknown.
Okay.
Probably they took it from Herschel's research and then built a word off of that.
Yeah.
So we have the Mexican-American War, didn't use infrared technology in that. The Civil War definitely didn't use technology in that.
Mm-mm.
The the Spanish-American War, no. The Philippine insurrection, no. And then we hit World War I and II. So basically, Herschel discovers infrared technology. At some point in the 19th century, someone names it, but it's not used in any type of defense application until we hit the World Wars.
Okay.
And even then, it's incredibly primitive. I mean, in World War I, they were literally shooting guns at each other out of flying airplanes.
Yeah.
So very primitive technology. In World War II, the technology does pick up, but they're more interested in the use of radio waves and radar. It's actually the Cold War when the Department of Defense recognizes the full potential for infrared technology.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It took them that long.
Yeah, so from Herschel's discovery in the 18th century all the way to the Cold War, which starts pretty much, you could say, immediately after World War II.
Yeah.
Infrared is just more of a parlor trick.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's Texas Instrument, woohoo, Hughes Aviation, also a Texas company, and Honeywell, which I think is also a Texas company,
Oh.
but I could be wrong. They improved infrared technology for defense applications in the 1950s and 1960s. The production of infrared technology advanced into the 1980s and into the first Gulf War. We finally see a wide use of infrared technology in the first Gulf War, especially when they're doing a lot of those nighttime battles.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
They're going full predator
Yeah.
on the Iraqis
Iraqis.
in the Gulf War there, the first Gulf War. So prior to the 2000s, infrared technology was simply too expensive for civilian use. Also, the cameras were too big and bulky to carry around. It's in the first decade of the 2000s that the size and the price of the camera comes down, and the idea of using infrared in home inspections becomes a popular idea.
Nice.
Yeah. InterNACHI actually created the first infrared class in 2008.
Wow, that's not that long ago.
Yeah, I know. And in 2020, the infrared camera is now considered a very common home inspection tool, but they're still very pricey. So I said like the price and the size came down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Infrared cameras are still stupidly expensive.
Yeah, they are very expensive. There are
Yeah.
some cheaper ones, but the good ones are expensive.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon and buy one for $250, but it's not going to help you fight Arnold Schwarzenegger in a place where there are no rules.
Yeah, for sure. No, you'll die.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. You need to invest in like the $5,000 to $10,000 camera if you want to fight Schwarzenegger.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, why don't we chat more about how this thing actually works? I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's talk about some emitted energy here.
Okay, so first I'll talk about what is infrared. So infrared radiation or infrared light is a type of radiant energy that's invisible to human eyes, but that we can feel as heat.
Wait. Did you just say radiation?
Radiant.
Radiant.
energy.
Okay. All right. Remember, no radiation is
Yeah.
coming out.
Radiant energy, not radiation.
Okay. Sorry, I misheard you. Continue.
So all objects in the universe emit some sort of level of infrared, but two of the most obvious sources are the sun and fires.
The sun, not Uranus.
So infrared is a type of electromagnetic radiation, a continuum of frequency. I did say radiation that time. A continuum of frequencies produced when atoms absorb and then release energy. From highest to lowest frequency, electromagnetic radiation includes gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet radiation, visible light, infrared radiation, microwaves, and radio waves. And together, these types of radiation make up the electromagnetic spectrum.
And that's what Herschel mapped out.
Yeah, this is what he mapped out. So
Yeah.
he did this. He did that.
He did that.
So-
he did that.
He
Straight
did
up did that.
He did that. In scientific terms, visible light that reflects all the colors that we can see is measured between wavelengths. So the visible light that we can see is between 400 to 700 nanometers.
Weak sauce.
Yeah. yeah. While infrared is measured between 700 to 1,000 nanometers. So yeah.
Predator level.
Yeah, predator level. So green trees, plants, and clouds that reflect the most infrared light will look wider, while blue skies that don't reflect infrared will translate into black areas. And infrared shooters typically use filters with varying color strengths or photo editing programs to create even more unique photographic effects. So yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So how does an infrared camera work? So an infrared camera is a non-contact device that detects infrared energy or heat and converts it into an electronic signal, which is then processed to produce a thermal image on the video monitor and perform temperature calculations, which is crazy that this is doing all that.
And I actually want to interrupt you. Let's go back to Predator for a second.
Okay.
If you've seen any of the Predators, and my personal favorite is Alien versus Predator.
Yes.
What the Predator is seeing is not really real infrared technology.
Yeah.
It's like Hollywood's version of infrared technology.
It's like that filter you use on your MacBook.
Exactly. So we joke a lot about the Predator, but really what we're seeing in the infrared camera is not at all how the Predator, what you see on TV with the movie and everything, that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So,
It looks a lot more different.
It's a lot different than that. All right, sorry, continue.
So heat sensed by an infrared camera can be very precisely quantified or measured, allowing you to not only monitor thermal performance, but also identify and evaluate the relative severity of heat-related problems. So I guess it just really tells you how hot things are.
There you go, yeah.
And all objects emit infrared energy, which is known as a heat signature. An infrared camera, which is, like Mary said earlier, also known as a thermal imager,
Yes.
the thermal gun, detects and measures the infrared energy of objects. And the camera converts that infrared data into an electronic image, which shows the surface temperature of the object being measured.
So that's why the Predator can see your fear.
Yeah, that's why you can see your fear. Okay. These cameras contain an optical system that focuses infrared energy onto a special detector chip, which is called a sensor array. Don't know what that is. A detector chip. That's what it is.
I believe you.
Yeah. And it contains thousands of detector pixels arranged in a grid. So each pixel in the sensor array reacts to the infrared energy focused on it and produces an electronic signal. The camera processor takes the signal from each pixel and applies a mathematical calculation to create a color map of the apparent temperature of the object. Each temperature value is assigned a different color, and the resulting matrix of colors is sent to the memory and to the camera's display as a thermal image of that object.
Man, that camera's busy.
Right? It's doing some crazy stuff in there.
There's some mad science happening in the
Right? Like
infrared
it's doing
camera.
like all these calculations and stuff.
Yeah.
To
And we're just like, oh.
we're just like, nice. Cool. So a lot of infrared cameras also include a visible light camera that automatically captures a regular digital image with each pull of the trigger. By blending these two images together, it's easier to correlate problem areas in your infrared image with the actual equipment or area you are inspecting. I was laughing because
So
the trigger. I was
there
like,
you
wow.
go.
But yeah, that's it. That's how they work, and that's what visible light is.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I like that. Like, well, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all it does, not a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's kind of a lazy thing.
Right. Take what you will. Take what you will.
Okay, so let's continue on in that vein. How about that?
Yeah.
The big thing I want to point out is after all that scientific stuff EC said, the infrared scans are not exact science.
Yeah, they're not exact science.
So it sounded so scientific. Nope.
Yeah,
No, it's all a lie. Actually, it's not all a lie.
It's true, but it's not 100%.
It's a lie with omission. How
It's a
about that?
calculation. It's a
Yeah,
calculation.
okay, there you go. It's a diagnostic tool.
Yeah.
That's an even better one. Okay. Basically, because there's so many variables that can change emissivity, which is the emitted energy.
Yeah.
All residential infrared scans are based on apparent temperature, which means that all the temperature readings are estimates based on the condition of the home at the time of the inspection.
Yeah.
So a lot of things can actually change your emitted energy. And this is like nuts. If you have a house, so we're in a house now. We're not hunting for soldiers in a place that has no rules.
Yeah.
Different rules apply there, okay?
Yeah, there are rules here. There are rules here.
When you're in a residential home, there are rules,
Yes,
okay?
Yes.
To infrared scans. And basically, if you have metal surfaces, formica surfaces, tile surfaces, paint, matte paint colors, shiny paint colors, no paint, all of that can actually change the reading in the infrared gun.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? So that's why emissivity is not an exact science. And here's the trippiest part. If a home inspector or whoever's using the infrared gun shoots an item head on, do you know what heat they're actually reflecting?
Their own?
Their own heat.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts?
That is crazy.
Yeah. Another
Wow.
place where you often see mistakes made is any type of glass panels. So windows.
Okay.
Or even shower panels.
Oh,
glass
like the
panels.
sliding door ones.
Yeah, or open, yeah. Glass panels emit different types of heat energy. So when you shoot it with an infrared gun, it's
just reflecting.
it's going to be different. Yeah. So same with windows. Like windows on an infrared gun could look like they're on fire. Well, that's just because they've been reflecting the heat all day.
Yeah.
You
That
know?
makes sense, yeah.
So there's so many variables that can change the emissive energy. That's why we say infrared's thermography is not an exact science.
Yeah.
So now, how a home inspector or whoever's using the gun, let's go. We'll say home inspector. We're a home inspection
Yeah,
company.
home inspector.
We're a home inspector.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. How a home inspector should interpret the infrared findings. So I just said they're not scientifically accurate. That means we need to interpret them.
Yeah.
And like I kind of just said, it's a diagnostic tool.
Yeah, they'll just jump to conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't take it at face value.
Yeah.
So first they analyze the image. They're going to record the apparent temperature. Then they're going to find the anomaly. And what do I mean when I say anomaly here? Anomaly is when say we're pointed at a wall with an infrared gun and we notice a purple spot.
Yeah.
That purple spot could be a lot of different things. So that's why they're going to find the anomaly. They're going to try to find what's causing that purple spot.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to analyze patterns around the purple spot. So is it just one isolated purple spot or is it a lot of purple spots all over the wall?
Okay.
And remember, those purple spots are a change in energy.
Yeah.
They should pay more attention to the patterns they find and worry less about the temperature differences.
Okay.
Okay. So the patterns are going to kind of tell you what the anomaly are, not the temperature reading on the gun. Does that make sense? Right. And then because it's just a diagnostic tool, findings should always be confirmed using other tools. So for example, let's say there's purple spots we think are moisture. We've analyzed the patterns. We've looked for other purple spots. We come to the conclusion we really think it's moisture.
Yeah.
At that point, we're going to pull out our secondary tool, which is a moisture meter, and we're going to test to see if it's actually moisture.
Yeah.
What you don't want to do is point the gun at a wall, see purple spots, and be like, it's moisture, your house is leaking, get a new house.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You use a secondary tool to try to determine what the purple spot is, and also where the purple spot is coming from.
Yeah.
So, the main things that cause temperature differentials on an infrared gun, there's three main things. Moisture, I just use that as an example.
Yeah.
Heat and UV rays.
Yeah.
Okay. All of these factors increase the emitted energy on materials in a residential home. I guess a commercial home too, but let's just talk about residential homes. So we don't want to confuse ourselves.
Yeah.
So water is actually the biggest culprit when it comes to temperature differentials on a home.
Yeah.
It's usually water. Water penetration can be from the roof. It can be from leaking pipes in the house. And the biggest thing to know is that the infrared scan cannot find old water penetration.
Okay.
It can only find active water penetration.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it can't be something that is like.
It can't be Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
So now we're in 2020. Hurricane Harvey 2018?
It was like 2018, yeah.
Yeah. That's 2 years ago, more or less.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, almost 2 years ago. We could not tell that a home was flooded from Hurricane Harvey using an infrared scan.
Yeah, no.
We might be able to tell in other ways, but we can't tell using the infrared scan. The infrared scan only sees active water penetration, all right?
Yeah.
Water shows up as blue or purple or sometimes black on the scan.
Yeah.
And we'll have pictures, don't worry. Now, what about heat? Heat makes a house hotter. So seeing hot spots, which could be red or orange, can mean a few things. It could mean that there's an electrical hazard behind the wall, especially if you're around outlets or a panel box. And you have to notice an anomaly, remember? Outlets are gonna be hotter, especially if they have something plugged into them. But you have to look for an anomaly, which means they're unusually hot.
Yeah.
Same with the panel box. The panel box is gonna be hot because it's a panel box. But you're looking for temperature anomalies, meaning one part is hotter than the other.
Yeah, like it'll definitely stand out.
Yes. You always want to do follow-up tests. We're going to say this over and over again. Always do follow-up tests. Never make your determination based on just what you see on the screen on the infrared gun. Now, UV rays is another thing that can show up on the infrared scan. And that can happen in a residential home when there's no insulation in a wall.
Yeah.
So lack of insulation in the winter can show up as blue or purple, and lack of insulation in the summer can show up as red, orange, or yellow.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? But it makes kind of sense. It makes a lot of sense actually, because in the winter, lack of insulation is making your house colder.
Yeah.
And in the summer, lack of insulation is making your house
Hotter.
hotter.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's kind of interpret those colors even further.
Okay.
All right, so red, orange, and yellow indicate heat, which could point to an electrical issue or lack of insulation in the summer. Purple, blue, dark blue, or black indicate cooler areas, which could signify a water leak or a lack of insulation in the winter.
Makes sense.
Science! So we will have pictures, don't worry, on the blog.
Yeah, there's some cool pictures where you can see like
Yeah, so
what
you
it
can see all
normally
of
looks
these.
like and what it looks like with the camera.
Yeah. Now, the biggest question I always get, can infrared scans find termites? What do you think, Isis?
Maybe.
That's actually the right question,
Okay.
or the right answer. The right question. The right answer, maybe.
Cool.
It actually says, yes, maybe.
That's
You cheated.
bro.
Did you cheat? Did you cheat?
No, I swear to God, I did not cheat. I swear I did not.
She can see my computer screen. I think she cheated. Okay, so essentially, most termites are way too small to show up on an infrared scan. Go back and listen to our WDI episode.
Yeah.
You'll learn all about termites. But for most termite colonies can sometimes be seen. And if you recall our WDI episode, it's because Formosans move so fast.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them, right?
Yes, they can eat a house in less than 2 years.
Yeah, there's a crazy ones for sure.
Yeah, they're generating a lot of heat, and that heat that they're generating can sometimes be picked up on an infrared scan. But do not rely on an infrared scan to find termites.
Yeah, no.
And any pest control professional that tells you they're going to do an infrared scan to look for termites, I really wouldn't.
Say never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not.
It's not accurate.
Yeah, it's not conclusive enough.
Yeah.
But the infrared scan can find other pests. So it can find bees, it can find rodents, it can find bats, and any other small mammal.
Yeah, that makes sense because they're like big enough.
They're big
to
enough,
see.
yeah. Yeah, and the interesting thing about bees, so let's talk about bees for a second. Bees are very, very hot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the queen bee is the hottest bee. She hot.
Oh, of course she is.
Yes, of course she is.
She's the queen.
She wouldn't be the queen bee if she wasn't hot, right?
Yeah.
But the queen bee is like boiling hot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like hundreds of degrees hot.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so when you do an infrared scan of a home that has bees behind the wall, and usually they like to get behind brick walls.
Oh. Okay.
So like between the brick and the framing of the home, bees like to get in there. You'll see this like glowing red mass. And I'm talking dark, like scarlet red.
I'm looking at the picture right now. It is very like obvious.
Yes, and if you zoom in to that red mass, you would see the reddest spot of all, and that would be the queen.
Oh my God, that's crazy that you can even see her. Like, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we'll post this great, fantastic picture that was taken on a FLIR infrared camera, which is the ones we use actually.
Clear.
Yeah. And you'll see that the middle is like bright red, and the outside is a different color red, and then there's a third red color, then it turns orange, then it turns yellow, and then it turns green, and then it turns blue. That just shows you how the color radiates out from the middle of the bee's nest. And it's not just bees, wasps, any type of flying, stinging insect is going to generate, that makes a nest.
Ants, did we say ants too? Do ants?
Well, the problem is ants are too small.
Okay, that's what I thought, because like carbon for ants.
Yeah, ants are too small. But bees, flying, stinging, ants don't usually sting unless they're red ants.
Yeah, annoying.
So flying, stinging insects tend to live in hive colonies.
Okay.
You can see those with infrared. Yes. So, rats. Rats. You can see rats on an infrared scan. You really won't see rats behind a wall unless they have an active rat nest.
Oh.
And I'm showing EC's a picture of the rat's
nest. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's horrifying, isn't it?
It is horrifying. It is like very hot.
Yes, and the reason you can see the rat's nest behind the wall is if they're actively having babies, like they have the little babies in the nest, those little babies are generating a lot of heat.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, that's crazy pants. And that really goes for all mammals. So if you are in an attic, and it's a dark attic, you can't see within the recesses and the eaves, you could do an infrared scan to see if you have any type of living, warm-blooded mammal living in that attic.
Like a raccoon or something.
And hopefully you don't, because that's terrifying.
Yeah, my dad had raccoons once in his attic.
He had a what?
He had raccoons.
Oh, did they die in the wall?
They were in the roof. I don't know how he got them out, but you could hear them walking up there and stuff.
Yeah, they really stink if they die in your house.
Yeah, it was not fun.
That's disgusting. So now I'm going to talk real quick about our governing body here in Texas.
Yes.
And obviously, I say this every episode.
We say this every episode.
Every episode. All states are different, right?
Yes.
But here in Texas, we're governed by TREC. I told you this.
Yes.
I've told you this many times. The infrared scan is not an official part of the standard TREC inspection, and the home inspector is not required to do an infrared scan, and he's not required to carry an infrared scanner. And I am 99% sure that's the same for all states.
Okay.
I don't think any state requires their home inspector to carry an infrared scan.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, yeah.
Or infrared thermographical gun. How about that?
Okay.
So because infrared scanning is considered a non-intrusive test, do you know what that means?
Non-intrusive means like they're not messing like with anything.
Yeah,
like,
they don't have to go behind the walls.
Anything.
Yeah, they're not causing any damage. Infrared scan is a non-intrusive test, so there's no extra forms or disclosures required in the state of Texas to have it done on a house. And nor are home inspectors in Texas required to have a separate license to perform an infrared scan, nor are they required to take any extra classroom hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can pretty much pick up a gun and go.
I mean, I feel like that. It's not that hard, I don't think, but
I think the issue is a lot of times you get home inspectors who haven't been trained, and they just use the gun but don't do any of the secondary diagnostic testing. Yeah. And really that can ruin a deal, because they can be like, oh, this house is full of water leaks, but they just didn't do that secondary testing, so there's no, that might not be the case.
That makes sense.
And also a lot of people shoot the gun head on and reflect their own body heat.
So they're making mistakes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of mistakes happening out there. That's the issue with not requiring any classroom hours or a license or a certificate or anything. That means anybody can pick up an infrared gun and go for it.
Yeah.
And I mean anybody.
That's crazy.
Pest control, we've said this, plumbers, electricians, roofers, even a layperson can pick up an infrared gun and scan their own home.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's nothing wrong with anybody doing that. It's just if you're not trained, you don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
You might misinterpret stuff and freak out.
Exactly. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to think everything's serious, essentially. Now, if you're a real estate professional, you're probably thinking, should my client even get an infrared scan?
Yeah.
So even though it's not an exact science, it can really be a helpful diagnostic tool when inspecting a home. It can help your client by pointing out potential issues that the seller might not even know about because it's happening behind the walls. The biggest thing to remember, though, is that sellers are under no obligation to fix anything that is discovered during an infrared scan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't have to fix anything. They don't have to fix anything in general.
Yeah, that's true.
About the only time the seller really has to fix anything, and this is in the state of Texas, people, about the only time a seller really has to fix anything is if they have conducive conditions for termites for a VA loan or an FHA loan.
Yeah, that makes sense,
Yeah, but if you find something behind the wall with an infrared scan, the seller's under no obligation to do anything.
Is that because, like, maybe they just didn't know because it's, like, behind stuff, or that's just how it is?
Say that again?
Is it because, like, they didn't know that it was, like...
Well, no, it's just because sellers are under no obligation to fix it.
Oh, okay, that's just how it is.
That's just how it is, yeah.
Okay.
They can force you to just be like, you could put anything you want in the negotiation during that option period, and the seller also has the right to just say no.
Okay,
wow. Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the biggest thing to know, really, if you're an agent, is that infrared scans can sometimes incur an extra charge in addition to the home inspection, about $75 to $100 on average. So make sure to clarify any extra charges with the home inspection company.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I toot my own horn for a second?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
My company includes the infrared scan. Our company.
Wow.
We include the infrared scan absolutely free with every inspection.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing deal.
You have any questions for me?
Do you recommend that inspectors provide that service?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're really beyond. I know the gun is expensive. I know it is.
Yeah.
The one we use, each of our home inspectors, and we have 8, carry a $5,000 infrared camera.
You do the math for that.
Yeah, you do the math. It's expensive to equip your home inspectors with infrared cameras. However, because the camera is so widespread now, it's just not considered a novelty anymore.
Oh, so it's really just like,
yeah,
everybody has that.
More and more people are coming to expect it in a home inspection.
Okay, so now it's like, oh, you don't provide that?
Exactly. So I would just say have it in your toolbox and use it and don't charge people. It looks better. It looks like you're doing something fancy.
Yeah, ooh, extra service.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks like you're really taking care of your client.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. Honestly, you answered most of my questions.
I
was
did.
gonna ask
I always
about the price and all that.
I always do that.
It's okay though. It's okay.
Do we have any questions for the predator?
For the predator. What kind of camera did they use? It looks so funny. It looks nothing like an infrared.
No, actually, I'm gonna Google that right now. Okay, infrared.
If you look at
the
what
predator.
The predator looks like and the infrared camera, you're like, okay. No.
All right. So first of all, Google that because it's hilarious. So when you're done listening to this, Google the predator and then look at the pictures from the movie because they're really funny. Okay, so according to the sci-fi-stack-exchange.com, which is, I guess, the science fiction dictionary here, the predator's vision operates mainly in the infrared portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. They can easily detect heat differentials in their surroundings, but are unable to easily distinguish among objects of the same relative temperature.
Oh.
So basically, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Predator, the first one, Arnold Schwarzenegger puts himself in mud, which hides his body heat. Yeah. So that's why they're pointing out that the predator is unable to easily distinguish among objects of the same relative temperature. So once he's covered in that mud and he's in a place that has no rules, he's basically the same temperature as the place that has no rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
He blended in.
Yes. And now we're only talking about the first movie, not the 20 other movies that happened that change the rules every time.
Yeah.
But I still want to see if I can't find any answers how Hollywood came up with it.
Yeah, it looks interesting for sure.
Okay, here it is. The bio helmet.
The bio helmet.
The bio
Wow.
helmet. Yes. This podcast took a turn, didn't it? Okay.
I know.
The bio helmet is one of the main tools protecting the predator. It also protects his head. Excuse me. It's one of the main tools used by the predator, and it also protects his head. It has multiple vision modes, including zoom capabilities, voice mimicry, breathing, diagnostics, and visual and audio recording systems. It also incorporates a red target laser used in conjunction with the plasma caster, which I guess we're supposed to know what that is.
Oh my God.
The whole, yeah.
How did the Predator have this in the 1980s?
I know. Well, he's an alien.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. He's not like some guy.
Right.
The bio helmet is linked directly to the Predator's wrist gauntlet, which controls. Oh, he's like a Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like a Mandalorian. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why the bio helmet is an infrared, though. It's not telling me that, though. Okay, if anybody knows, please tell us. But here is the basic definition of why the helmet has the thermography. The most common default setting on the helmet is infrared. It's meant to visualize humans, but it cannot visualize other aliens or xenomorphs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So wow.
So basically, they developed the infrared scan just to hunt people. So I guess the trailer was right. He can see your fear. The purpose of that infrared is to see your fear.
Yeah, they definitely see that.
So, okay, there we go. There's the answer to that. The purpose of the infrared is to see humans' fear.
Wow.
Yeah.
That bio helmet does a lot.
Yes, but I still no answer on how Hollywood came up with that. I think we're gonna have to dig deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
Dig deeper on that question. So anyway, we digressed.
Yeah, we did. Sorry, we digressed.
We digressed a bit. I think it's time for credits.
Yes.
Time for credits? Okay, so next episode, this is a big deal. Next episode is our season finale.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, season 1 finale, episode 10, which is going to be on Crawl Spaces.
Oh, that one should be cool.
Yeah, so season finale, episode 10, Crawl Spaces. We're actually going to be recording that next week. Yeah, next week. So. The intro was the original 1987 trailer for Predator starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the music credit is Kevin MacLeod of In Contact. Our source credit for the history was actually Internachi.
Nice.
Yeah, they had a lot of good history on infrared. Make sure to check us out on YouTube at A Action Home Inspection Group Houston, on Facebook and on Instagram at HomeInspector_Texas.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm Mary.
And I'm Izzy.
And we're the HomeGirls. And thank you for joining us. We're going to check out now and do some more research on the Predator.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk to you next time about Crawl Spaces.
Alrighty. Nice. That was so funny.
Yeah, I think that was good. All right, so thanks for joining us for this double feature of the HomeGirls. If you didn't see this morning's recording, make sure to check it out.
Yeah, the live streams are up.
Yes, it's on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, so you really don't have any excuses.
Yeah, you got options.
Yes, and we'll see you next week. What is the date? What is the date?
Let's check.
Quickly.
Next Thursday.
March the 5th. We will see you on March the 5th, where we'll be recording episode 10, the season finale on Crawl Spaces.
Yes.
We'll see you then. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Now I have to awkwardly end everything.
I know. I almost knocked out.
Nothing's